So if you're in business or if you are trying to accomplish a goal, sometimes even in sports, you'll find yourself in a place, or you'll find people, they often point back to a coach that they had that changed their life, or a mentor that showed them the ropes, showed them how to play the game better, smarter, faster. And so when's the last time you thought to yourself, if you've ever had one, do I have the right mentor? If you've had the right mentor, how have you been able to define, okay, this was a good mentor or this was a bad mentor that I really didn't get much out of? And so in today's episode, I want to break down how to find the right mentor. Now, I've personally learned from people that I would consider my mentor that I have never met in my life. Don't know if I would ever meet them. It would be awesome if I ever met them, but I would consider them my mentors because of the way that they think, what they've put out, that I've been able to absorb, that's really shaped the way that I view reality, and it's shaped the way that I view business, and it's just shaped the way that I even operate my own lifestyle. I looked up to guys like Charlie Munger. I've looked up to guys like Patrick Bet-David. I've looked up to guys like Naval Ravikant, right? So if any of those names resonate with you, if you know who any of those guys are, just stand guys, the way that they operate their business. I really watch people closely of how they operate. Right, so I don't like to listen or rock too much with people that have had a bad rep, that their just integrity doesn't sit well, their work ethics or business ethics isn't there as people, right? So I watch that really closely, but I want to give you, what do we have? We have 4 different ways that you can really check to see if someone would be a good mentor for you. But before getting into that, let's first break down what a good mentor is, or really what a mentor is by definition. A mentor is an experienced and trusted advisor. Now, a mentor can either cut and or accelerate the period that it takes you from the moment that you start something, whether you're on level 1, how quickly can you get to level 4? If you're on level 4, how quickly can you get to level 8? So we don't just use mentors when we're starting out. We have people that are making millions of dollars that have access to a mentor that's going to help them make their first $1 billion. We have people that are maybe starting their first business that they have a mentor that's now going to lead them into the land of 6 figures or to the land of 7 figures. Now, that part right there where, the definition, an experienced and trusted advisor. We can deal with the experience side, but you also want to pay attention to the trust side, which is the first, what I call, measure of what I look for in a good mentor. I got to be able to trust you. Now, remember what I finished mentioning earlier, some of the guys that I've looked up to. Have I had local mentors that I've met face to face, that I've sat down with, that have showed me the ropes in the past? 100%. I don't necessarily think that you need to have someone that knows you personally and that you know personally beyond what you've seen. That's enough for you to actually trust them. Now, that's a gauge that you're going to have to determine. If maybe your trust metric is, they need to be married, they need to have one wife, they need to have kids, so that I can kind of understand where they're coming from on the family side. They need to have a 7-figure business, an 8-figure business, whatever that metric is that you want to grade it off of. It could be a single individual, right? Maybe have just one husband, never been remarried. Maybe they're divorced, but they've healed. Like, whatever that is, you just want to make sure that it's someone that you can trust. I usually gauge it off of, I watch their lifestyle, but I also watch them how they are, or at least seem to be when they're off stage, right? And you can kind of tell when someone's switching it on and switching it off, and you can kind of tell when it's just them. Like, that's who they are. That's what I look for, where, if they're presenting a piece of content on a podcast, they're the same person that appears to be, let's say, on their story. They're the same person that if you bumped into them, wow, that's literally the same person. They're the same person that if someone did a candid video of them from afar and ended up on TMZ, wow, that's literally the same person. Like, I prefer that, even if it's someone that you feel or someone that may seem like they're outlandish, at least they're being truthful to who they are. Second thing is I have to have some kind of connection. And so I'm giving you really the 4 things to use on how to find a mentor, but I'm also giving to you from what I've used, right? Because this question comes up quite a bit. You need to have a connection to this person. It can be a spiritual connection, it can be a mental connection, it can be an emotional connection. If you just feel their story and you see yourself inside of their story when they're speaking, like, man, I grew up without a dad. I can definitely resonate with that. Man, I went through a terrible heartbreak, or I went through a terrible divorce. I can definitely feel that. Man, I lost my first 3 businesses, and my 4th one was the one that ended up paying off. I can definitely connect with that person, with that individual. And so I want them to mentor me. Whatever that connection point is, I like to make sure that it's a strong connection that's going to build a bridge that I can kind of hold on to, because I'm able to now see through their lens of how they view the world, why they think the way that they think, how they operate. One of the best things of getting a mentor and learning from them is we tend to have these thoughts when we're coming up that we never really question, because they just become as if they're a part of us. But I can tell you from experience, the thing that moves the needle the most in terms of success, progress, getting the achievement, isn't necessarily going to be what we learn, but it's going to be the things that we unlearn, because we're no longer holding on to baggage. And since we're no longer holding on to baggage, we're able to make way for something fresh. We're able to make way for something new. The problem is that we want to accept the new, but we don't want to let go of the old. And sometimes that doesn't necessarily blend inside of the same structure. And so the one that you believe the most is the one that you'll tend to gravitate to. If it's old thoughts, you'll gravitate to the old thoughts. If it's the new thoughts, you'll gravitate to the new thoughts. But the key thing here is that you want to separate. Okay, I'm cutting off the old thoughts and I'm holding on to this new thoughts because I know that it's going to serve me well. Getting access to a mentor is going to do just that, because you're able to see how they think and you're able to question, why do they believe this about the world? And they have that thing that I'm looking to access or achieve, and I don't. And so when you have that framework, you're able to make better decisions. The third, and this one is really important, especially for those of us that are looking for business mentors, track record. I mean, let's be real here. Why would you listen to someone who's going to teach you how to make money, 8 figures a year, if they make 6 figures? Like, it just kind of defeats the purpose, right? Like, why would you listen to someone who is going to teach you how to stop smoking, but they can't put the cigarettes down? Like, why would you listen to someone who's maybe unhealthy in terms of their weight, but they're going to teach you how to lose weight? Now, obviously, that's not to say that they can't share something with you, maybe an insight that they had that could help you out. But I'm talking about a bona fide mentor that can coach you. Hey, don't go there. Hey, watch that pothole right there. Kind of like if you're new to town. Hey, watch that pothole. Hey, after 7 p.m., don't go past the street. Like, that street's kind of sketchy. So make a left, don't make a right after 7. If a guy tries to wave you down, he has like a sponge in his hand, he has a squeegee in his left hand. There's 3 other guys behind the bushes that are just gonna beat you up. Like, don't make a left there. And so you start to see that. And so what ends up happening is you don't make the same mistakes that maybe they made. And so again, that can come from a conversation, or that can come from a book. I think books are great mentors. That can also come from a podcast, listening to people that you maybe look up to that are influential. It could also come from people that are maybe in your office that you can actually sit down with them. Hey, when you first came into this business, what were 4 things that you wish you would have known? And they'll tell you, hey, I wish I would have prioritized my schedule. I wish I would have prioritized my diet. I wish I would have prioritized my time with my family and turning off my phone. Like, whatever they say, if that's someone that you look up to, you're going to start to pick up, okay, they're at where I want to be. And so monetary wise, they're making $500,000 a year. They're making $1 million a year. They're making $10 million a year. Let me try to replicate those steps. And then lastly, the end goal. Now, the end goal is important, because you're looking at where they are now, but you're also looking at where you want to be. And if that's where you want to be, then you potentially have yourself a good mentor. Now, I want to put a caveat around this. I think that you can have multiple mentors, and I think that it's good to have multiple mentors and coaches that you can look up to in terms of what they do. You can have a fitness coach, you can have a business coach, you can have a kickboxing coach, you can have a marriage coach, you can have a business a marriage mentor, whatever that is, right? Maybe you have someone that kind of offers everything, but people tend to lean toward their expertise, and so that's something that you kind of want to watch out for. But I say this because if you have a negative relationship with seeing someone that's a little too far out and then having that demoralize you, because there are some people that are like that out there. I completely understand where they're coming from. I'll give you a real world example. If you have someone that you look up to, they're making $10 million a year, you're barely making your first 100K. it's gonna be really difficult for you to look at that person that's making $10 million a year, and for them, for what they're saying, for it to make sense to where you are in your life right now. So you may want to kind of like set up a couple of mentors that are 2, maybe 3 steps ahead of you. This is why, even though I like mentors kind of like Charlie Munger, Naval Ravikant, Patrick Bet-David, some of these guys, you may have your own, right? Maybe Tony Robbins, he's cool. Gary Vee. If you don't have someone that is a few steps maybe ahead of you, so again, someone in your office, someone in your market, someone that you can call, maybe it's a family member that you look up to, or a close friend that you went to school with, and there are a couple steps that you can kind of like emulate, then you could see what you're looking to do as too much of a big goal. And so if you're 300 pounds, you're trying to come down to 180 slim for your first bodybuilding show, that could be a far-fetched versus looking at someone that's maybe 250. They're starting to work their way down. They're starting to see their six-pack, and then maybe you could have that conversation with them. Hey, what did he do to go from 300 to 250 versus 300 to 180? Because that gap could kind of like demoralize you. But for those of you that it really doesn't matter, then you can continue to obviously look at some of those bigger thinkers, some of those bigger doers, and then take bite-sized chunks of what they're doing and put it into a smaller scale. Now, this one piece of advice right here changed my life. Heard it from a coach of mine at the time, and he says, the advice that you get from a coach or a mentor can sometimes feel counterintuitive. But if it wasn't counterintuitive, then you probably would have already been doing it anyways, because it would have felt natural to you. So sometimes when you're hearing something and it confronts your reality, you may want to combat that and say, no, they're wrong, or that's not right, or that's not true, or how dare they. But when you sit back and you let that information kind of like go inside of you, you'll start to see, wait a minute, my views about the world, about how I view money, how I view business, how I view relationships has been skewed this entire time. And I haven't seen the bigger picture. In fact, I haven't seen the other picture, which is one that's being shown to me right now. We've maybe seen this picture this entire time. There's a picture on this side that we just have to turn and look at, and then we can actually lay them down and compare them and see which one is reality to me. And even if it's not a reality to me, which one is the reality that I want to transition to, because it's going to serve me far better. Some people are so obnoxiously arrogant with the information that they have that they don't want to be wrong, even if it's not serving them, that they will go to the grave with false beliefs, because they don't want to admit, I've been lied to this entire time, or I've been working with information that hasn't helped me move forward. It's far easier. Well, I don't want to say easier. It's difficult for some people, but it's far better if you decide to think to yourself, you know what? Yes, I've been doing it wrong. Yes, there's better information out there. Yes, there's an easier way of doing this. Yes, I've been doing this wrong. Yes, I've been an idiot about this. Yes, I've been stubborn, right? You can name call yourself. That's fine. As long as when you go through that phase, you find something that's going to help you out, and you find something that's going to, again, push the envelope forward. So if you found value in this content, I think that what you should do is definitely hit that subscribe button down below. Give us a 5-star review only if you found value in it. But I think more importantly is surround yourself with the right people. Mentors, coaches are going to help you expedite your success curve. Just make sure that there's someone that's walking the walk, not just talking it, right? Until next time, everyone, I will see you in the next episode.